Please, I can't sleep.
It's time to listen to Courtney at last on the Ramblings of an Insomniac podcast.
Hello. Welcome to episode 18 of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. I am Courtney Perry. Hello, howdy. So I'm sitting on my front porch because it's a great day. I know I always say that. I sound like I'm being really corny all the time, but it really is, though. It really is kind of a perfect day. I mean, it's cloudy. There are very few patches of blue sky, but it's not very cold out. And there are so many birds right now that are just chatting it up. And it just sounds awesome out here. The birds are singing, and I've been hearing some, I think it's not an owl. It's like a pigeon probably, but I'm just hearing bird noises. The frogs were out earlier and some dogs have been barking. So that's what a porch is for, right? Sitting on it and enjoying those sounds. So I thought if I came out, you guys could hear those things in the background. And, you know, that's much better than sitting inside and hearing my dogs bark at me. So at any rate, hello. Well, now there's an airplane kind of, not photo bombing, video bombing. Anyway, what has been keeping me up as of late? Well, strangely, I'm not going to lie, I've been not sleeping better in the sense that I'm not sleeping any more than like 3 to 4 hours. However, I've been sleeping pretty well. When I'm asleep, I'm actually like asleep. It's not a light sleep. It's not a sleep where I feel like I'm half awake, half asleep kind of thing. And not to get all weird and share too much or be all, too personal or anything, but I think it's an important thing to talk about. So I'm going to kind of put myself out there and talk about it. And because, I think we all know somebody, if it's not ourselves or someone else, that struggles with anxiety or depression or some type of mental I hate saying mental illness, it sounds odd, but that struggles with anxiety and depression and different things. We all have our struggles, and mental illness is a topic I think it's really important. And I'm not a doctor and I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not going to get all into it other than to say I started taking Lexapro, and I started taking it because I have anxiety, like crazy anxiety. I struggle with it really bad. Anxiety and ADHD. It's a very interesting combination. So basically my brain is just always all jacked up, and it's so hard for me to just like relax. And there are very few things that ever make me feel relaxed, and that's when I am out in nature, like I'm kayaking or especially photography, taking pictures out in nature, or when I'm in a barn and I'm riding, horseback riding and just being outside. So that tends to calm my brain down a lot. But other than that, I'm just always going. And so now that I have been taking something to help manage that anxiety and manage my ADHD, and then that in combination with I've been stretching a lot, going outside, and making sure that I am breathing, taking in that fresh air, and just doing a lot of stretching and then exercising. And I'm trying to eat healthier and all that. And again, whatever, I'm not preaching any of this. I'm saying for me, this is what I've been doing. And because I've been making these changes, I've noticed when I'm sleeping at night, it's been a deeper sleep, and it's been pretty great. And so So although I'm still being kept up at night and I still have insomnia, I am starting to make some progress. So it's been great. But I still have things keeping me up. And but I just wanted to talk about how one of those things is just mental illness and struggles that people have. I live near Salem, and I'm noticing more and more homeless people. And I always think, how do we manage this? How do we make this better? How do we make a change so that we don't have to see these people not have a home? And why don't they have a home? Why are they homeless? What made them become homeless? Was it lack of a job? Was it an addiction issue? Was it mental illness? Was it all of these things? And then I thought about that. It probably is a combination. There are so many factors that go into, I'm sure, on why someone ends up homeless. And I thought, well, how do we manage that? And people always say, well, make more homeless shelters. And okay, we probably need that, but that's kind of after the fact. After someone has became homeless, it's already at that point an issue. So how do we stop it before it's an issue? How do we make it not continue? How do we, it's like plugging a dam after it's, there's a big hole in a dam with a Band-Aid, that saying. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but just trying to plug a hole in a dam with a Band-Aid, that's not going to work, because eventually it's, sorry, there's a bird. There's a blue jay that has a lot to say. He seems to know the answer. I'm listening. He has a lot to say. So anyways, there's got to be something done beforehand. And I just thought about a lot of it, I think, is counseling. And whether it's, you became homeless because there's an addiction issue, you became homeless because maybe you have issues at home, like your parents or family members are not safe, and you felt like you needed to run from an unsafe environment. There's so many factors, but I feel the one thing that would be everybody would have in common is trying to get some counseling and talk about things, whether it's family counseling or counseling for you personally or both, and that could probably help a lot. And there aren't a lot of counselors, and the ones there are, it's an insurance issue, and insurance doesn't pay for counseling a lot of times, and when it does, you can only go to certain counselors, which really stinks, because going to a counselor is something that's such a deeply personal thing. When you are sitting down and you're sharing such personal things with somebody, you want to feel comfortable with them. You want to make sure that who you're talking to, you feel comfortable and safe with. So it sucks that you would have to, only have a select few counselors that you can choose from. And I feel that's a shame. Counseling is something that I think would really help greatly reduce homelessness. That, in combination with being able to have, obviously family is a mom and a dad, and there's just so many dynamics, and I won't get into politics and I won't get into any of that stuff, but I just started thinking about it and how much it would be nice if people could have access to a counselor, have access to medications, whether it's holistic or otherwise, whether, and then if people are religious, if you're religious, you could talk to members of your church. If you're not religious, maybe there's a support group, more support groups out there that cater to whatever it is you're struggling with. And so, being able to talk about things that are upsetting you and talk to somebody that could help you manage those things and deal with them in a healthy, safe way is always going to benefit anybody. Whether you have an addiction issue or whether or not, I mean, you could be the healthiest person in the world, then hey, awesome. So here's some tools to help maintain that, you know? So anyways, that's been on my mind, and how when I started, for the longest time, for whatever reason, I was not against medication at all. I want to make that clear. I'm not against medication. But I felt like for me, oh gosh, if I take medication, there's a stigma, and people are going to think that I'm a weirdo, and oh, she's struggling. Or if I take medication, then that means I'm not managing myself well, and that I'm, how do I explain it? That I felt, gosh, I'm just not even capable of taking care of myself, and what a loser. How can I not take care of myself? You know, I know the things that I need to do. I know the right things. Why can't I just do them? I felt like a failure. So I felt like if I took medication, it meant that I was a failure. And again, I want to make it clear, I don't think people that take medication are failures at all. I just felt this for me. And so I thought, I'm going to work out, I'm going to meditate, or I can't meditate because I can't keep my mind to stay calm, but I thought I'll do all these things. And then I, again, because I said it out loud and because I made a plan out loud, I never followed through with it. And so I thought, all right, clearly I need something to kickstart me so I will get help in following through. And I tried all these things and it didn't work. So finally I said, all right, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So I went and talked to my doctor extensively and went through all the pros and cons and different things. And we tried one thing first for quite a while. I tried it for quite a while so that I had a good baseline. And that made me feel it was like Wellbutrin. And it just made me feel really angry for some reason. I was getting like angry. It was making me really not a good person. And I really honestly didn't know that was actually one of the biggest side effects. And I didn't know that. And I told my doctor, and he's like, okay, hey, let's try something different. So I tried Lexapro, and I've been on that for a while, and it is really, really, it's been good for me. I'm not saying that I'm jumping around, skipping, and like, woo, everything is perfect and great. But holy cow, it's weird to not have my brain in this constant state of just chaos. It's just chaotic up there. And it's nice to feel like I can have a conversation and my brain is not all over the place thinking and worrying about so many things. And at night, I'm not laying there just in this constant state of being scared or just anxious. It sucks. It sucks. It really does. And anxiety is something that people definitely need to take seriously, along with depression and anything else, So now I'm just feeling what I imagine a brain that isn't feeling like there's 100 people up there talking at once, like you're in this concert and everyone's trying to talk over the music, like there's loud music and a million people are trying to have a conversation over the music. That's the way that I describe my brain. Anyway, that has been one of the biggest things that has been, again, not really keeping me up, which is a good thing. Just things I've been thinking about, things on my mind. And the other thing that I've been thinking about has been, and I've talked about this before, I believe, but people always say the different sayings like the early bird gets the worm or stop and smell the roses. And there's all these contradictory quotes. And I've talked about this before, but I was thinking about the fact that, again, things are about balance. And that's something that people talk about all the time, balance, balance, balance. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's so hippie or so Buddhist or so Zen. And it's like, well, what's wrong with being calm and Zen? Zen is good, right? Because you're calm and balanced. But I get it. It sounds so like, yeah, it's just everybody thinks that. We all know common sense. But what I was thinking about more was just if you are in a if you're balanced and you're not, sometimes it's good. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a moment. I was thinking how if you are the early bird gets the worm, and how if you're going and going and going, in some situations that is great. You should, try to work fast and get things done and be productive and all that. And then there's other times where it's best to stop and smell the roses. And then I thought, okay, but there are also times when it's good, the slow and steady wins the race. So just find that medium. And I'm like, well, that's silly. So basically you're like, okay, you can be fast. Okay, you can be slow. Okay, you can be middle. All right, so which is it? All of the above, I guess, depends on the situation. And then that got me thinking about how people talk about it's black or white. And I'm like, man, it seems like I'm so pretty much in the middle on everything. And I'm like, does that make me boring? Does that make me indecisive? Does that make me wishy-washy? Because I'm pretty in the middle. I'm not necessarily black and white about everything. Sure, there's a very small amount. There's a handful of topics that I'm, I guess, black and white on. But the majority of things I'm pretty gray. I'm in the middle. And then I'm like, God, am I just indecisive and I can't make up my mind? Am I just like, nah? But then I'm like, no, I just feel like I've always kind of been that way. I'm always like, oh, I can see both sides. I can see where they're coming from. Again, now there are certain topics that I am very black and white on. I have definite opinions about, and I've researched them, and I've gotten the facts, and I've gotten perspectives from both sides. I've heard both sides, and I've done my research, and I've made a decision. But